Young lady, you don't fool me one bit.
I'm not trying to, but I bet I could, though.
No, you might convince this jackass that you love him, but you'll never convince me.
After many years of struggles, celebrities today can be openly gay and still get support from their fans. But things were different in old Hollywood times. The moment some celebrities chose fame over privacy, they knew nothing would be the same anymore. Being in the public eye had some rules. These stars were judged for every single thing they did, so their publicists believed it was in their best interest to keep some things hidden. This included hiding their sexuality. So who are these old Hollywood megastars that were forced to hide their sexuality? Tab Hunter was only 17 when he was discovered, and it didn't take him long to rise to fame. His talent was undeniable, but it was his great looks and charm that made him so special. His looks attracted a lot of young women, and that's how he gained most of his female fan base. This was also one of the reasons why he decided to keep his sexuality a secret. But that wasn't the only reason. Way before Tab even became a star, he was arrested, among a few other men, for showing homosexual signs in public. The story went viral in newspapers and magazines, but Hunter's studio decided to ignore the claims that Tab was gay and let the rumors die down. And they were right. Soon everyone forgot all about it, since it seemed so impossible for this golden boy to be a gay man. Of course, they were wrong. Sadly, he had to keep it a secret for most of his life and had to go on all his dates wearing a disguise. But at least Tab got the chance to come out later in his life, which unfortunately some other stars never got to. Hunter came out in 2005. If I'd come out during my acting career in the 1950s, I would not have had a career, he said. Not much in Hollywood has changed in 60 years. I really didn't talk about my sexuality until I wrote my autobiography. I believe one's sexuality is one's own business. I really don't go around discussing it. Call me old school on that topic. After finally coming out of the closet, Tab also had the chance to find true love and got married to Alan Glazer in the last few years of his life. Anthony is known for his iconic role in Psycho, among many other great parts he's played. His great talent may be the reason why he was so great at hiding his sexuality from the entire world, too. Anthony was married to Barry Berenson, and they even had 2 children together. But apparently, Perkins was living a double life and was fighting his demons. While Perkins was always dating gorgeous actresses back then, he was also seeing actors like Tab Hunter and Grover Dale secretly. But he struggled with these desires for so long and hated himself over them to the point that he even spent years in conversion therapy, forcing himself to change. He thought that his homosexuality could be changed, but that obviously was not what happened. Perkins was in a war with himself over his sexual identity, but decided to keep his sexual orientation a secret from the public. Being gay in the 60s was not easy. So if anyone would have found out, Anthony risked losing his career over it. So he stayed silent until the end, when he sadly died from AIDS. Marlon Brando was quite the playboy back then, and the people he dated weren't only girls. He was so confident in his sexuality that he wasn't bothered by what people would think. So the list of people he's had a relationship with is pretty long. And the men in that list include Burt Lancaster, Laurence Olivier, John Gielgud, Christian Marquand, Leonard Bernstein, Clifford Odets, Tyrone Power, Paul Newman, Montgomery Clift, James Dean, and Rock Hudson. Homosexuality is so much in fashion, it no longer makes news. Like a large number of men, I too have had homosexual experiences, and I'm not ashamed. I've never paid much attention to what people think about me, Marlon said himself. Van Johnson was yet another man who was forced into marriage as a way to maintain a stable movie star image, and also hide his sexuality. In this case, Louis B. Mayer was the man who forced this. Van got married to Evie Wynn back in 1947, right after Evie got a divorce from Keenan Wynn. To top it all off, the 3 of them were all close friends before this all happened. They needed their big star to be married to quell rumors about his sexual preferences, Evie said. Unless I married Van Johnson, he wouldn't renew Keenan's contract. I was young and stupid enough to let Mayer manipulate me. Van and Evie had a daughter together before they separated after a few rumors of an affair appeared. The Independent newspaper revealed that Van had an affair with a male dancer. But Van never came out of the closet, and he never got the chance to be his real self. Despite all of that, Van kept on playing the role of the perfect man until the end. "I'm the luckiest guy in the world," Johnson said. "All my dreams came true. I was in a wonderful business, and I met great people all over the world." James Dean was a star that will always be remembered. He had the talent, but it was his great looks that have kept him relevant to this day. He's still a part of pop song lyrics to this day for a reason. James was the epitome of youth and great looks of the 50s and 60s. and his legacy remains to this day. But his great looks didn't cover the truth behind his sexuality, which still remains a myth. Many people believe he was entirely gay, whereas some think Dean only wanted to explore his sexuality. And James's answer when asked about his sexual orientation didn't help clear things up. "No, I am not a homosexual, but I'm also not going to go through life with one hand tied behind my back," he said. Obviously, his studio and managers did a lot of work to conceal his sexuality and managed to cover it up for as long as they did. But considering that there are men that have admitted to having sexual relations with Dean, such as William Bast and even Marlon Brando himself, it's quite obvious that James spent as much time with men as he did with women. And well, there was enough of him for all of them. Men weren't the only ones experimenting with their love lives back then. Marilyn was one of the most desired women in the world, and it seemed that she was as loved by men as she was by women. Even though she was married to 3 men, it's been revealed that she was attracted to women too, maybe even more. Marilyn seemed to enjoy her affairs with more than a few women, like Elizabeth Taylor, Barbara Stanwyck, Marlene Dietrich, and Joan Crawford. So she started getting worried that she was actually a lesbian. Her whole existence was a search for identity, and her sexual identity was a complete lie, Jean Negulesco, who directed her, said. According to some sources, Marilyn even admitted that she never really enjoyed sex with men, and even faked her pleasure. Imagine how trapped she felt in her marriages. Martin Evans, a close friend of Marilyn's husband Jim, described what Marilyn said about her marriage to Jim Doherty. She was scared. For my information, she even asked if it were possible for her to never have sex with him. Could they just be friends, she wondered? It's obvious that her reputation as a sex goddess got in the way of her actually exploring her true identity. But it seems that until the end, her heart was always oriented towards women. Greta Garbo, or the Swedish queen everyone knows her as, decided that the marriage life was not for her from early on. That doesn't mean that she didn't like playing around with both men and women. But one thing about her was that she would never kiss and tell. Greta was for sure a big mystery to everyone, including her friends. But we do know about some of the people she's had secret affairs with. The women Greta dated were Lillian Tashman, Louise Brooks, Mercedes de Acosta, and Mimi Pollock. And some of the men she dated were John Gilbert, Leopold Stokowski, Eric Maria Remarque, Cecil Beaton, and George Schlee. Mercedes was one of her most talked about relationships, and even though it was just a passionate affair, the two of them remained friends for life. Maybe it was her charm or how mysterious she was, but everyone found Greta captivating. This is why everyone wanted a taste of this woman of mystery. What, when drunk, one sees in other women, one sees in Garbo sober. We know little more about Garbo than we know about Shakespeare, Kenneth Tynan said. While women back then got married in order to hide their sexuality, Greta did the exact opposite and owned it. Montgomery Clift was yet another one of the handsome gentlemen of old Hollywood. His great looks and his great talent stole the hearts of many girls, including the gorgeous Elizabeth Taylor. But he didn't care who wanted him, as long as he was battling some deeper inner demons inside. Montgomery's life turned upside down, and he became a drug addict and an alcoholic all of a sudden. So what exactly was tormenting him? That secret was that he was gay or bisexual. Even his own mother said that she knew about his sexuality from when he was very young. She said Monty was a homosexual very early. Oh, I think it was about 12 or 13. One of the biggest signs of his sexuality was his lack of a love life. He always said he was waiting for the right girl to marry, but the truth was that he was just gay. Many people would later testify to how they knew all along that Montgomery was a gay icon. Jack Larson is one of the people who recalled that when he first met Clift, he gave him a kiss on the mouth. The thing about Monty was he wasn't anything like people thought he was. He loved to have fun, said Larson. Even Montgomery's brother said that he was bisexual, amongst many other friends. Barbara Stanwyck is an actress that will always remain one of Hollywood's biggest icons. She was even the highest paid woman in the United States back then. That's pretty badass. But although she was in the public eye all the time, she kept her private life very private. Because of how secretive she was about everything, no one ever knew where her sexuality really stood. But there are more than enough rumors that went around about her bisexuality, or rather homosexuality. These rumors were enough to make people think that maybe some part of it was true. When she was 26, she started teaching a dance class for the gays. The biographer Axel Madsen backed these rumors, saying, "Unearthing the truth about Stanwyck's sexuality would remain impossible," and then added, "People would swear she was Hollywood's biggest closeted lesbian." And even though she was married, everyone thinks those marriages were created to hide her sexuality to the public. Barbara was set on keeping it all a secret, and that's exactly what happened. Even when she was asked about it during interviews, she always found ways to dodge the questions. Bose Hadley asked, "Do you think bisexuality was very widespread among female stars during Hollywood's heyday?" To which Barbara said, "I heard that Dietrich, Garbo, most of the girls from Europe, swing either way. Then I found out it's true. You found out? Next, Barbara cut the journalist off. Spencer Tracy was married and had children, but as we've seen up through now, that meant nothing back then. Apparently, these marriages were only used to hide what was really going on behind closed doors. Spencer might have seemed straight, but he's been linked with relationships to many men throughout his life. He was married to Katharine Hepburn, but it's rumored that it was all set up for the media. They weren't happy together, and we aren't surprised considering that there are rumors about Katharine's sexuality too. It seems that neither of them were allowed to express their real sexuality, and it tortured them inside. Spencer decided that the only way to get through that unhappiness was by getting drunk all the time. He had to pick between a successful career or living life as an openly gay man, and he chose the first one. Living back then must have been pretty hard, especially if you were part of a community that had little to no rights, and being gay and building a successful acting career at the same time was pretty much impossible. So these old Hollywood stars decided they wanted a career more than a relationship with the people they actually loved. So they tortured themselves by hiding it from the rest of the world. If you like this video, make sure to watch this other one.